Every year, a well-known cable channel brings you a full week devoted to sharks. True tales of the killers of the sea. The ultimate predators hidden in the depths of our oceans. Until now. This year, we present Electric Boat Battery Week.
What would happen if the boat sank from its weight and you're in the boat and you have this tremendously powerful battery and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there? Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted, or do I jump over by the shark?
You thought sharks were enough. Well, now there's a new danger. Batteries. For millennia, mankind feared the deadliest predators of the sea. Now, the predator is of our own making.
Whatever you've heard and read about Trump's Project 2025, this is perhaps one of the most chilling. Please, if you have a child within the American public school system, pay attention. Pay attention.
Far more sinister is what's buried deep within Project 2025, which any person who sends their child to public school should care about. They want to mandate that all students in schools receiving federal funding must complete the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. In plain English, that's a military entrance exam. If you flip to page 134 of the 900-page Project 2025 manifesto, you'll read this proposal, and I quote, "To improve military recruiters' access to secondary schools and require the completion of the Armed Services and Vocational Aptitude Battery, the military entrance examination, by all students in schools that receive federal funding." And guess who would be exempt from that requirement, since they don't get federal funds? Private school kids.
Dear those who munch on this channel. Yes, that's you, and you over there. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to get yourself to invite more people along to the 24/7 Eyes channel. Please get them to subscribe any day between Monday to Sunday before 10 p.m. November 5th. For daily roasts with a political option and extra room for those wanting Dems on board. There will be gossip, banter, and funny bits to be shared every day as the British outsider Tony delivers non-stop what he's found round from America's political bag. This message will self-destruct and end in 3, 2, 1.
Is trying to understand why certain caucuses and coalitions have held and others have not. And I believe that you wrote an op-ed, not about this, but in many ways parallel to this, that I think gives part of the answer. This from MSNBC, quote, "We do not have the privilege of apathy. The fight for freedom has always been and is once again at our doorstep, and we cannot afford apathy when oppression knocks on our door." What is it that members of the CBC see and understand that other members may not?
Well, I think we see what I think America sees and what the grassroots folks see, the voters see. When you think about 14 million people cast their vote for Joe Biden, and in that article, I'm specifically talking about Black members. I'm talking about Black Americans, because this is a president that made a commitment to all of America, but especially Black America. He said that he put a Black woman on the Supreme Court. And he did that. He said he would pick a female to be his running mate. Not only did he pick a female, he picked a Black American. He also said he would support those who were trying to better themselves, whether it was in healthcare, whether it was in education. $16 billion, the most money ever put into HBCUs. We can't afford to have a Donald Trump. And that's what I think people are missing. This is about what we're running against. We're running against someone that's a dictator, someone who said on day one he would get retribution, revenge, someone that has been indicted on 34 counts and said he could come right here on Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and no one would be able to do anything about it. He's been anti-people of color, anti-women. He has done some of the most deplorable things. And we're up here debating whether Joe Biden could be our candidate. Joe Biden on his worst day is better than Donald Trump would ever be on his best day. And I don't think he's had a best day. He doesn't answer questions. He avoids things. And so that's what I'm talking about. It will set us back. We have members of Congress who are saying we were better during the era of Jim Crow. We have mega Republicans saying that we should go back to the 1960s. I know my history. If we go back to the 1960s, Michael, you know, for people who look like you and I, we couldn't vote. We're talking about civil rights, voting rights, workers' rights. And so that's the statement that I want America to know, that I stand with Joe Biden because he understands hardships. He understands jumping over hurdles. He understands people, and the people have spoken. You know this. We are the caucus. We are the party of democracy. We believe in that sacred being able to vote. That is something that is very sacred to us. People stood in line for 5 and 6 hours when they were going to have the chance to vote for a black man to be president of the United States. We know Joe Biden will be able to overcome hurdles. We know that Joe Biden has told us he's running. He's not going anywhere.
There's a very, very good... I wish I could find it. I've lost it. But somebody said last week that it doesn't matter. Even if Biden was 6 foot under, they would still vote for Biden ahead of the other guy, the Filoni guy. And I would say one thing that I think will work in the Dems' favour. The Republican circus is on its way with the latest edition of well, you know, Trump runs it as a reality show, is now, who would like to be a valet person? Could somebody... do you know what? We have a tape... I don't know if I should share it with you. I did actually make a tape of... There was somebody who was selling flags outside a store, the Republican flags. And I said, are you serious? And he looked at me. I said, Tim Scott. Maybe I'll share that clip with you. The only thing is, I don't have a lawyer to check it over. We could get sued because there's a few allegations that we just put in there for the conversation. But... my point being with Tim Scott, he's proved himself very capable of being able to get an engagement together. I do believe that, she is pregnant, according to one source that was on Fox News, and it's never been mentioned anymore. I'm just wondering, just say this, if Tim Scott doesn't become vice president nominee, I don't even believe I'm saying it, will he still be getting married? I wish somebody would ask him that. What? You think you think that's crazy? This is what I mean with the Dems having they've kind of got some headlines which are inbound for them. Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be speaking at next week's RNC's get together. So you do have Who Wants to Be Trump's Valet Person and Roll Out the Next Crazy live on stage. Seriously, and they're whining and moaning, a few people in the Democratic Party, that President Biden takes his time, that he slurs his words from time to time and had a bad day. Really? Wow.
Republicans released a list of more than 24 speakers they've labeled, quote, everyday Americans, including former Democrats and immigration-focused speakers. NBC News can also confirm that former rival Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will be in attendance, but there is no speaking slot for the former governor of South Carolina, who came closest to bruising Trump in the primary. In fact, a longtime senior aide to Nikki Haley acknowledged that she was not invited to the convention, but said she's fine with that. Joining me now, Basil Smikle Jr., former executive director of the New York State Democratic Party, professor of practice at the Columbia University School of Professional Studies, and a Democratic strategist. Also joining us, Molly Jong-Fast, the host of the Fast Politics podcast, a special correspondent for Vanity Fair, and she's also an MSNBC political analyst. Thanks to both of you for being here. Basil, you're on set, so you get teed up first. Okay, so we're going to find out who the VP pick is for Donald Trump. Burgum, again, somebody nobody really knows, including me. J.D. Vance, Marco Marco Rubio. I'd even say Tim Scott, but even that I'm reluctantly using. But we do know Don Jr. is very close to J.D. Vance, and we hear that Don Jr. is going to be the one who's going to be introducing J.D. Vance. Are we reading tea leaves too much here?
They're good tea leaves to read. You know, it's interesting because the name that's been bandied about in the past that hasn't been lately is Elise Stefanik.
Oh,
If Trump were a strategist, actually that would be a really good VP pick. Because as a woman, she could probably, for them, mitigate some of the reproductive rights issues. She's from New York, so because New York plays so heavily in the race to get Democrats to be back in control of the House, it runs through New York. She's from New York, and it's his home state. So there are a lot of potential advantages with her, and she was, you know, sort of very outspoken and kind of shined during the grilling of the university presidents. But he's not that strategic. Loyalty is all that really matters to him. J.D. Vance, you know, comes from an important state for Republicans. He comes across as someone who's going to be sort of Trump's wingman, his right-hand man. I think he likes that sort of the persona of a J.D. Vance. So my guess is that that's the direction he's going to go in. But, you know, you never know with Donald Trump.
Well, he's also a misogynist, so that's the reason why he's not going to pick a woman. Molly, right now we're, 2 days out from this convention? We don't have a list of all of the names of the people that are going to be speaking there. We did hear, as we just discussed, Nikki Haley didn't get an invite, which was an obvious slight. But I feel like this RNC is going to be like CPAC on steroids. It's going to be something that we already know. It's the same people, the same messaging, the same story. The only kind of big question mark is the VP pick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of craziness. And we already know Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've seen it's, you know, what has been really helpful for Democrats is that Republicans are really ruled by the basest aspects of their base. So you have people in the remember, Democrats have it's not the same, but they have, you know, people who are more lefty, and those people don't get to speak at the convention, right? Because they are not running the party. Whereas in the right, you have these people who are totally different, but who are far right zealots who have crazy ideas. Marjorie Taylor Greene came up with, you know, came from the world of QAnon, right, and came from the world of these wild conspiracy theories. Remember space lasers, Jewish space lasers. So she's going to speak at the convention. So think about that. And what I think really does help Democrats is that this party is so far right and cannot temper its basest aspects that I do think that this convention will provide an opportunity to highlight that.
Like I said, CPAC on steroids. I mean, that's really what's going to be. I mean, Basil, what is happening, though, is new, is Team Trump is really kind of upping their attacks on Kamala Harris. And it has nothing to do with the Biden kind of criticisms. I think it very healthily is because she's a very real threat. She is a female candidate. She's a woman of color. What does it say to you? Is it coinciding with the idea that Trump's about to announce his VP pick as well?
Well, there are a couple of things, and I'm going to say this and be in all fairness, because I've written about it. Our colleague Molly John Fass has written about it. You know, Kamala has been under attack by both folks within her party, sadly, and certainly on the right. And we've certainly seen that pick up in the last few days. I think Sebastian Gorka called her colored, is the word that he used.
Yeah.
And so
DEI pick is what they said.
And the New York Post said she was going to be the DEI president. So there is a wave of criticism coming at her from the right. I actually don't think Democrats are prepared to withstand that, which is an issue that I pay a lot of attention to. But when the fact that it's coming from the right is a way to sort of suppress the interest in her and then continue to pump up Joe Biden so that we can continue to focus on the negative attention being placed on Joe Biden right now. It is a way to dismiss and reduce the entire Democratic ticket at the same time. So, and remember, this is a message that's being sent primarily to independent voters, right? A lot of suburban voters that are coming from the right, because for his own base, it's sort of built in already, right? Yeah. But these are two independent voters that are going to pick up on this. Well, she's going to be vice president, but doesn't really deserve it. And that is an extraordinarily troubling line when you, of course, add in the race and gender aspects to this.
Molly, I got less than a minute. I want to stick on this, though, for a second, because I actually think that Basil's too elegant about it because he's a very elegant guy. I think it's because they are as base as you talk.